So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the next review, which is The Mandalorian Season 2. So I already did a review on Season 1. You can go ahead, check that out. I'm going to put it up in the link in the description below. But this season is really just all about Mando getting Baby Yoda, or Grogu as we know him now, to a Jedi. So that's basically his mission all throughout this season, and it comes off very hilarious. This episode, episode 1, really just starts off great, and it definitely carries on throughout the whole rest of the season. And it's kind of a new feel for the second episode with the spiders and all that stuff, kind of like a horror type feel to it. And I actually did really like that. And of course, it still has dope CGI, visuals, and practical effects, especially with Corridor Crews. I don't know if anybody know who Corridor Crew is, but check them out, especially if you like, movies and you're into special effects and, stunt work or whatnot. They do a lot of videos talking about that. And they were, on one of the episodes, they were talking about, just the scene where Mando's ship lands in the water and they have to fish it out, and just how the water and all the visuals came together and looked how everything just looked realistic. And with them highlighting that for me, I'm like, yeah, they doing their thing as far as the visuals and everything that goes on with this show. And I hope that they constantly keep it going and not just kind of like, okay, man, we're going to lower the budget on this next one to where it kind of looks crazy. And like I said in the beginning of this review, we find out Baby Yoda's real name is Grogu. And like I said, I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like, okay, it's not the best name, but he's an alien, so he's not going to be called Fred or anything. But, it's just, I don't know, I got kind of accustomed to Baby Yoda. I know a lot of people did. I mean, a lot of people still wear the shirts and don't even watch the show and just call it Baby Yoda. It's like, his name is Grogu, Yeah, I like to sound like a nerd for a little bit. But it definitely has some feels to it with the relationship between Mando and Grogu. Of course, that was real major up in the first season, and it carries on into this season. And just the relationship evolves. You can see that Mando is just developing this real big love for Grogu and wants to see him in the arms, or just in just a place where he's safe and he don't have to worry about his safety and everything else, even though it's to the point where he would rather watch him himself. But he knows that he has to let him go at some point or another. And even with Mando doing the unthinkable, just something that he normally wouldn't do, he basically shows his face, and it's all for the love of Grogu, trying to get him back or whatever. And that just shows just how far the relationship has grown between him and Grogu. It grew anyway. But in this season, you do have some new faces. You have Boba Fett, who is just complete badass, and then you have Ahsoka Tano, who is, I believe, in Rebels, in the TV show Rebels. So that's canon to The Mandalorian in the bigger Star Wars universe or whatnot. And she's played by Rosario Dawson. And you got Timothy Olyphant, who has a appearance in the first episode. He does good. He really just plays Raylan Givens from Justified. But yeah, I really like that. And then you got other people. You got the other people reprising their role. Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, damn, oh my God, what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito, that's his name. You got Ming-Na Wen, and you got Bill Burr making an appearance up in this season, which he actually has a good part as far as his episode goes. But as far as Ahsoka Tano, she's just an incredible character. Especially in this season with the samurai episode that she's a part of, and just how it was constructed. The episode itself is extremely dope. I really did like that episode, and I just liked her character. I'm not familiar with her character from Rebels, but I actually, since they are coming out with a Ahsoka Tano show, this is kind of like a how can you put it, like a kind of like a soft opening or soft just kind of like introduction to that show. So more than likely he's going to carry on through there, especially since Thrawn is thrown into the mix and everything else. So you can tell where her whole arc and her show more than likely is going to be about, and who the villain is and everything else. But I really did like her appearance, as far as just her whole overall presence within the episode that she was in. And I did like the whole style switch of just the from the space sci-fi western that they usually kind of go for, and now it's turned into this samurai type feel and style and all that stuff. I kind of did really like that episode. Boba Fett has a small role, but he is just a complete badass. Just complete. Especially when he finally gets on his suit, like he just starts whooping ass like it's nobody business. And I did really like the team up with him and Mando. It was just something to really experience. Bill Burr as Mayfield is he's very interesting in this season with the evolution of his character. In episode 7, he really does shine during the conversation that he's having with one of his old superiors, when he was working for the Empire and everything else, and just the kind of like how his ideals, what he thought was right and wrong, goes against what they thought was right and wrong, and then the conversation gets like intense, and just the way it builds up until it just can't be contained anymore. I really did like that. That was one of those experiences that was just like, yo, this they know what they doing when they was constructing this show. Like that scene alone just shows the care that they take within to it. And Moff Gideon is still intimidating as a force, as a figure within this show, and he comes off just as a great villain. Like, I mean, like the guy Giancarlo Esposito, he just comes off really good as a villain, period. Whatever show he's in, whatever movies he's in, he plays good as a villain. Like I can see him as a good guy, but if I was putting a movie together and I needed a villain that was kind of like fitting like how he is, I most definitely would pick him as the villain. Like I can't see him, like, I don't know, like it's just he plays a villain good as hell, and he was a great addition to this season, as well as the dark troopers that he presents up in there, and it's kind of like have like a Terminator feel to it, and I really did like that. And then of course it has a lot to do with the dark saber. Has heavily, like, it's different people are looking for the dark saber. You come across other Mandalorians who are definitely looking for the dark saber, and they're equally as badass as Mando up in this season, and I really did like their presence. And also, you learn a little bit more about the lore of the Mandalorians, and that they don't usually keep on their mask all the time like Mando does. They will take off their mask. Like, it's not anything like disrespectful. It's not anything that's like against the code or the way. It's like that's just something that a certain order of Mandalorians do, as opposed to another order of Mandalorians. And I did like that. And we're also introduced to my baby, my future wife, Sasha Banks, who has her acting debut outside of WWE, and she just looks beautiful, sexy, gorgeous, all that shit just rolled into one. Just beautiful as ever. That's all I can really say. And her appearance in this show, she's one of the Mandalorians that Mando comes across, and her role is very minimal, but she does do a pretty decent job with it in the role. And Luke Skywalker does make an appearance in this season, but the deep fake that's done with his character isn't the greatest, and it does stand out like a sore thumb. I feel like Sebastian Stan should have been brought in, and they could have played with his face a little bit to make it look more real. But it's just we get what we get, because he does look very similar to Mark Hamill. He really does. Just go look up the pictures and you'll see he looks very similar to him. And I know others have said it, but wholeheartedly, like Luke Skywalker's like appearance and him, how he comes in and saves the day, it's very similar to Vader's appearance in Rogue One and how he just starts fighting and everything else, which I don't think that that was a mistake. I believe that that was intentionally done. But as far as goes, it's like now that he's not a part of the show, or at least that we know still, at least that we know now, it's like, what are they going to do for the third season? Because one of the main things about season one and season two was the relationship between Mando and Grogu. So without that, like, where are you going to go? Especially with how big Baby Yoda Grogu was. It was like, where do you go from there? Is he going to come back? Is something going to happen to where Grogu ends up back in the care of Mando? Maybe, possibly. But that was one of the emotional selling points of the first two seasons. So it's kind of like where they're going to go from there. But as far as this season go, it is better than the first season. I really did enjoy it. I really did like it. Disney is really killing it when it comes to the Mandalorian and what they're doing with it, with just a splash of just everything that they're trying to do. And I'm very curious to see where they're gonna go with this third season. And yeah, like, if you aren't watching Mandalorian, if even if you're not a fan of Star Wars, you can cut on Mandalorian and end up really liking it. I really highly suggest you guys check it out, because you may end up finding yourself liking it. If not just for Baby Yoda, or if not just for just everything else, for Baby Yoda. I don't know how you're going to feel after this season, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I really did like it. So if you're not caught up, or if you haven't watched it yet, go ahead and check it out.